Live from Orlando, Florida, you're now listening to the OZone Podcast, the voice of Orlando Magic fans. Join us every week for a unique fan perspective on all of the latest Magic news and updates. The show starts now.
What's up, Magic fans, and welcome back to another episode of the OZone Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings and part of the Basketball Podcast Network. We're your hosts, Al, myself, Anthony, and today we are joined again by Mr. Dante Marchitelli. What's going on, sir?
Oh, man, it's always good to be with you guys. How have you been?
We have been great. It has been a while since we had you on the podcast. We were just talking off air that it's been a little over a year, and a lot has happened since we last talked to you. But
a lot has happened, and you guys, I'm sorry that the other 15 guests canceled, so you're stuck with me, but I'll take it. Good for me. I know I'm always ready. Last minute, I'm here to go.
How'd you find that out? Al, did you send that email?
That wasn't supposed to go out, but it did by mistake.
Accidentally, he blind copied me on an email. Yeah. Sorry, but that's okay.
Dante, we appreciate you joining us again, and we're really excited to talk about all the different things going on with the Orlando Magic. But before we get into it, how's your offseason been? I know you got a chance to watch some of the summer leagues, some summer league games, but how's the offseason been for you so far?
You know, the offseason's been great, Anthony. I appreciate that. It's been, right when the season ends, you kind of decompress for a couple of days. Our office kind of shuts down for a long weekend, and you just kind of take a deep breath. And then next thing you know, you're kind of all your focus is on May 17th, for the lottery, for the draft lottery, and you're kind of gearing up for that. And then your focus shifts once you find out you're going to get the number one pick, and then you ride the momentum of that for a month. We always do a big show on draft night. We do a radio show and stream it online as well. So then kind of our focus shifts to that, kind of learning these guys. And thankfully, the field was a lot smaller this year than it normally is. If you're picking around 5, 8, 20, wherever it is, you kind of have a little bit of an idea who's going to be in that top 1 through 5 or whatever. So anyway, so you kind of go on to that. And then you're right, in the summer league, the NBA has done a great job of keeping this thing year round. Really, they have. And then free agency and kind of all the momentum that you get from that. But in between that, we worked in some trips as a family and kind of had some downtime and hanging out time as well. But it's a great time to relax, but it's a great time to kind of already start getting excited for next year.
Yeah, it's exciting. I can't believe, like you said, how the NBA has made it so it's now, 2 months away from the new season? But yeah, it feels like we haven't really stopped. And mind you, we didn't make the playoffs. But it's amazing. Even through that, you feel like you're part of the action all year round. Unfortunately for us that love the NBA, the month of August and September are the toughest ones. There's little going on. It gets tougher to find topics to talk about. So we'll figure something out, I'm pretty sure. But I got to ask you, Dante, your daughters. I know I see them at the game sometimes. You share them on social media once in a blue moon. Orlando Magic and your daughters, how's that going? What players are they rooting for? I know last time we saw you, I think it was Markelle they were really rooting for at that time.
That's exactly
right. Has that changed, or is that the same?
No, you're exactly right. It's not changed. So Olivia, my oldest, is a huge Markelle fan. They're both Markelle fans. They're huge Markelle fans. And Allison loves Jonathan Isaac. So they got their jerseys that say Isaac and Fultz, and they're hoping for healthy seasons for both of them. Obviously, we all are. Let them get through a year. But yeah, this was the first year, Al, where they kind of really enjoyed watching it, where they could understand what was happening. The losses hit them hard, kind of like the rest of us, right? They don't really understand the kind of building for the future and taking your growing pains as you go. They take the losses hard, and they can't stay up for all the games, so they wake up and they go over to Alexa and they ask who won the Magic game last night.
That's awesome.
They're really into it. They're fans. They love coming to the games. They love the atmosphere, and they kind of have their favorite players, but they love watching them all, and it's kind of been fun to see. I know, Anthony, you'll see when your 2-year-old kind of starts getting into it too, but it's fun when you kind of start seeing them get into it and asking questions and wanting to stay up and watch all the games. It's fun.
See, my daughter right now is at the point where she's now able to recognize things on the TV screen. So, according to her favorite player is Paolo right now. Just because
already, yes,
we were watching the summer league, so now she will sit down with me and at least watch the TV. Attention span isn't a whole long period of time, but every time there's a close up on Paolo, she points. So that leads me to believe that Paolo's already a favorite.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
We see what we want to see, right?
That's
we see
exactly
what we want to see. So if you want her to be a Paolo fan, she'll be a Paolo fan. But you're right. The attention span was not there for them until 6, 7-ish, and now they're really into it. So it's really cool.
Yeah,
and you know what? Your daughter's not alone. There's a lot of Paolo fans in this town.
I believe it. I'm definitely one of them. Now, before we get into the details of Paolo, because we're dying to hear your thoughts on it. Despite all the losing and struggles that we had last season, what would you consider was your favorite moment as we close out, this offseason and head to a new?
You know what? I don't know if we have if I have a moment that stands out. I mean, I think about Franz had that huge dunk against Minnesota. We have that big win against Utah at home, the big win against Denver at home. I think those were kind of big moments, and there were big plays throughout the season. But what I take away, guys, and I think this is what's most exciting and what Magic fans should be most excited about. This was a team that the last month of the season, that arena, and you guys were there for some of that as well, that arena was loud. It was packed. They were on their feet at the end of games, and they were into it like I can't remember for a few years prior. And I think a lot of it is just the trust that they're building something. A lot of it is the excitement that these young guys had, and then these close games that we had here down the stretch against key opponents. And we were in games, and we're actually able to pull out some games, some big wins down the stretch, including the last game of the year there against Miami. So I think there was just terrific momentum. And I think there's an understanding from fans of what this is about. They were all in on kind of this blow it all up, complete rebuild right from the bottom, acquire capital, acquire these young guys, let them play. And now there's a real we're sitting in the arena thinking we have 18 wins. What's everyone getting so excited? Felt like a playoff atmosphere. But I think it was just that feeling that something big, something much better is coming here in the not so distant future.
I think that's what makes it so special. Even the guys that you see them, they look like they're having so much fun out there. You see it on the court, you see it off the court. There's a lot of excitement, and then the offseason comes, and it's like, whoa, there's even way more excitement than there was. So I definitely think that we ended it on a really good note. Now, have you had a chance? I would imagine that you had a chance already to see the practice facility. Is that correct?
You know what? I did just a very cursory tour and didn't get a chance to see it since it's going to be open here pretty soon, I would think. So kind of get ready for the next season. But it is unbelievable, even what you've seen from the rendering. So I've been in there, with the hard hat on. You kind of look around, and it's gonna blow a lot of people away, to the point that you guys saw it on ESPN. They had the renderings,
yes,
right? They had all that on, and it showed Advent Health Training Facility and all that. It's really to Jeff and John's credit, they have really been on this for about 3 or 4 years. Like, we need to have something like this. And the DeVos family is unbelievable. Alex Martins, they got it done, and that's gonna blow a lot of people away. No question about it.
It's impressive. It feels like everything's connecting, right? We've got all these young guys developing, the hype in the city, the new practice facility, and we'll talk about it more, bro. A bunch of cap space next season, so a lot of flexibility with our roster. Our players are developing. There's so much excitement going on. But none more than I think our brand new draft pick, right? So Paolo Banchero surprised the world, the Orlando Magic did, selecting him. I think we had rumblings towards the draft as the draft approach. Woj kind of ruined it for some of us that wanted the surprise element. But all in all, how was your experience, Dante? So I know you're a Magic fan deep down. You like us. Sure. You want to find out what's going on. All of a sudden, we keep hearing Jabari Smith, the name that we kept hearing all the way from the lottery, all the way to draft night. And I will admit, that was my guy initially. I loved the shooting. I thought he could have helped us tremendously. Look at Anthony shaking his head for those on YouTube.
So Anthony was not. So Anthony, that was not your guy.
Paolo was my guy very early on.
Okay.
And I tried to get Al to join me, tried numerous times. Went through the list of the pros and cons, and he wouldn't budge.
Well, Al, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. For a team that was 28th, 29th, 30th in field goal percentage and three-point percentage, it seemed like a sharpshooter like that would be the way to go, right? I was kind of with you on that.
I mean, a two-way player too. Can hit the three, can play great defense, great length. It made sense. Now, looking back at it now, Paolo again looks like a terrific player that's going to fit our roster tremendously. So in your mind, how were those days leading into the draft and then actually draft day? What was your reaction when you heard Paolo was the name?
Yeah, well, I thought it was going to be, like everybody else. You just heard Jabari was the front runner going into this whole thing, and everybody thought he was going to be the guy. And I saw Jabari's workout, and the guy can shoot it, and he's as advertised and moves well. And you see that frame; he's got to put on size, but he can do it. He's got those big shoulders at 6'10", and then he embraced the media afterwards, and he was very complimentary of the organization and the players, and kind of said all the right things. So it was an easy guy to root for. You really kind of were pulling for that guy, and then and then everything sounded like it was going to be him. And then it was just weird, right? You guys remember you kind of went to bed the night before the draft and got up that next morning, and Vegas had shifted. The complete odds from Vegas had shifted and kind of said that, Paolo Banchero had the best odds to be the number one pick. And I know Woj is never wrong, but Vegas is very, very seldom wrong. So that was the first time I kind of started. I didn't know how realistic Paolo would be, just because I didn't know Chet or Jabari. I really didn't know where they were going. So you did enough research on all of them, but I kind of just had a feeling it'd probably be Jabari or Chet. And then, once you kind of started hearing, that had shifted, and then Woj said what he said a couple hours before the draft, that he's emerging as a potential candidate. And then you kind of start thinking and say, oh, well, what's cool about this is the guy can do it all like that. If you're everyone, I kind of had pigeonholed that we need shooting. We have to have shooting. Jamal Mosley at the end of the year said everybody's got to work on their shooting. I thought, what better than that guy? And listen, all three of those guys, in my opinion, are going to be great. And I think all three of those guys would have been the right pick. But if you see what he did in Summer League and you see how he sets the table for guys, and that's, probably what Anthony saw. And I didn't watch enough of him at Duke, but he's a table setter. He's unselfish. He's got that size. And I think of all those three, and I don't know if you guys agree or not, to me, he's got the best chance to be a number one option offensively. Give the ball to him, and he goes and makes something happen. It's only 2 Summer League games. He's not going to be there now. But I think of those three, with his skill set, I think he has the chance, and that's what we need. We need a guy like that, and it makes all the sense in the world. So fully on board, love the pick, love the guy. We got to meet him and do a podcast with him, and I think he's going to make everyone else better, and I think he's going to get us baskets when he needs to.
Yeah, it's not every year that we get the number one pick, right? So I thought, with us having the number one pick, maybe I'm focusing too much now on Vegas. I thought Vegas was just coming out, just the information now because we had the number one pick. Sure. I can't remember. Is it normally like that every year, or is it just so happened that Vegas had such an impact because the Magic front office was just so more silent than what, the national media was used to?
You know what? I think, I think Vegas has been doing this for a few years, but I think they've been kind of lock in step. I think we've kind of had an idea a couple days before the draft where it was going to go, right? I think we've known, we've kind of had some semblance of what the order was going to be. You knew it was going to be Anthony Edwards, and, you knew it was going to be Cade Cunningham. These were not big surprises the last couple of years. So I think that kind of, I don't think it was that big of a shock. This front office was so tight-lipped. I mean, they didn't say anything. We had no idea, honestly, what was going to happen. We just, Woj is very seldom wrong. And when he said it's getting firmer that it's going to be Jabari Smith, it's like, okay, well, that's got to be the guy, and then it kind of shifted. So, credit to them. They kind of kept it in-house and if there's gamesmanship involved, I don't know, but that's how they operate. They want it to be, they want to keep things in-house. And that's what they did. They don't leak things. And so to their credit, they were able to do that. And for the first time in a while, up until a few hours before the draft, we just really didn't know where the Magic were going to go. But with that being said, listen, you can blow it up, you can tank, you can do whatever you want to get, you're not guaranteed the number one pick. So you got lucky. At the end of the day, you got very lucky. You gave yourself the best odds, but you got lucky. And you got to get it right. And the feeling is that Paolo is the right guy. And I do think all three of those guys would have been great in their own capacity, but I do think they got the guy that's going to be the biggest help for this team.
Yeah, I mean, it sure looks like he's, again, that number one prospect. Maybe not, who knows, going to be the best, right? When we look back at this draft 5 years from now, we may say, oh, it might have been Jabari, it might have been Chet, who knows?
Totally.
But right now, body-wise, NBA ready, it definitely seems like Paolo is that guy. Now,
and the IQ guys, right? The IQ,
yes.
You can't speed him up, right? He kind of goes at his own pace.
Yep.
Talking 2 summer league games and a season of college basketball. That in no way defines him, but there's an air of confidence about him. There's versatility. He's got great footwork. He handles the basketball. I think he's going to shoot it better than we think. And I listened to a lot of podcasts on Paolo after the fact. And the one thing everybody says, is that the guy's so comfortable with the basketball in that now when he gets to the NBA stage, like, you don't get to see what Paolo can fully do in college. Now in the NBA, you can't leave guys. Like, nobody can hide out there on the floor. the whole floor is going to open up for him. So we're going to see an entire array of skills that we didn't see in college. And that, to me, is what I'm most excited for. Well, he's going to have ups and downs, but what's he going to add to his game come the end of the season? And I think that's what Magic fans should be most excited about.
Yeah, that definitely is. Now, one of our Patreon members wanted us to ask you, you met with him, you had the podcast with him, so you got to see him face to face. Is Paolo as big and strong as he actually looks on TV?
Yes. Yes, we were sitting in the Icon room, right, getting ready to record this inside Amway Center, right outside the Magic locker room, and the doorway opened, and Joel came in. Joel's he's probably 5'9", 5'10", something like that. And then Paolo comes in after him, and he had to kind of duck under the doorway and came in. And then we stood up and got a picture with him. And the man is massive. The man is absolutely massive. And, don't know. At 19 years old, does he maybe add another inch by the time it's all said and done? He grew 7 or 8 inches in one summer, so is he done now at 19? Who knows? So he's been a point guard. He's handled the basketball his whole basketball career until 8th, 9th grade when he had that growth spurt, and then he kind of had to learn post moves. So yes, he's massive and he's thick, guys. He's got a big, strong torso and center of gravity and all. I mean, he's just got he's got a lot of size to him and a lot of physicality. So 250. I mean, that's a solid size right there, and he'll only add more size to him as he goes. I'm telling you, this guy's going to be a force. I really believe that.
Yeah, there was unconfirmed reports that he's 6'10" and a half without shoes on. And one of the things that you've really recognized right away during Summer League is that compared to the other guys, there's a lot of height. There's a lot of body size. Just he looks way bigger than the Keegan Murrays, Jabari Smith, right. To where I find it hard to believe that he's just a simple, regular 6'10" guy. He looks way bigger than that, and he's opposing. And I think that's the part that's so exciting is everything that he's able to do at the size, at the height, the body, all of it. I think that it makes everything just that more exciting to watch because you really don't have a lot of guys that's able to do what he does at that size.
Well, and don't you guys think, you guys saw it too, like the other guys, and it's not just Chet, it's not just Jabari, it's most guys coming out of college, when they take contact or more physical players, they're kind of not ready yet in their rookie year, first couple years in the league to absorb that, get their shot off and finish. It didn't bother him. Like you could hit him all you want. Like none of that physicality bothered him. And it kind of knocked him off his spot, and he still had that little lefty floater in the lane one time, and he's able to step back and get off a couple of threes, and he's got a little turnaround jumper to his game. So I don't think there's big, strong guys in the NBA, and it'll be physical, and it'll be hard for him at times, no question. But then he's going to have times where, it's going to be, fairly, some nights are going to be easier than others, but I don't think I don't think contact and absorbing contact is going to be a problem for him. I think he's going to be able to take that. And I think the other thing too, guys, is with his ability to get shots off and take that contact, shot clock's winding down. 4, 5, 3 seconds left on the shot clock. You give it to him, a couple of the dribbles, makes a post move, takes a foul, goes to the free throw line. Like we're always looking for somebody to get us a big basket at the end of a game. And, sometimes we can force it up and take bad shots or turn it over. This guy can settle us down, get to the line, and get 2 points the hard way. And I think that is huge, especially at just 19 as he continues to grow on that. So, yeah, the size is huge. It's certainly a great factor, no question.
Now that you mentioned that, it was fun in Summer League, at least, watching him get to the free throw line 14, 15 times a game. I'm like, wait, when was the last Magic player we had that just got the ball and actually got calls? Like, it's been a while, it feels like.
Yeah.
So that was fun to see.
Guys, don't you give this front office credit, because I would have played him all 5 games. I would have played them all right. Like I would have. There's right.
Easy.
You want to see, you just fall in love with it. Just want to see him the entire week.
Yeah, but I think it was a smart decision, right? Want to protect him, make sure that he's healthy. In a couple of months, we'll see him for the real deal. Right. Position-wise, Dante, what do you think you see him playing in the NBA? I know he has the size to play the 5. Traditionally, he's a 4. He has ball handling skills of a 3. So do you see him at the NBA level playing 5, 4, 3? What do you see him at the NBA level?
I think he can play them all. And I think it's kind of, you hear that term positionless basketball. And really it comes down to who are you going to guard on the other end. Really, that's kind of what your position ends up being, because you can play with 5 guys on the perimeter. So it doesn't matter point guard or center if all 5 guys are on the perimeter. But who are you going to guard defensively? Is he quick enough to guard threes? I think he probably is. And if he's not, he will be come that time. But I think I think he'd be a little undersized maybe for some 5s. but I think you can go small and play 5 with him, right? I think you can do that. I think he's a 4, and I think he'll play the 4 only because, if nothing else, you've got Franz out there who we know is a 3 and a solid 3. And if you're going small, he can play the 4. And Wendell's going to be your 5, right? So you would imagine you would pencil him in there at the 4. But again, they're all interchangeable. But to me, that would be the lineup. And then you come on, you imagine coming off the bench with Bamba and Isaac when he's healthy and Bol. You can't imagine now, okay, so you start with those guys, right? The physicality and all that at 6'10", the versatility, the changeability, and then in Mo Wagner as well. So now, and then you come with 4 7-footers that come in after that. There's no break for teams. And I think that's kind of exciting. But they're interchangeable. But to me, I would think, ideally, if you have to call it a spot, I think he'd be your 4.
I think that's the part that makes it, again, that much more exciting, because Mose has to figure that out. And the fact that he has versatility allows him to be able to, pick and play and kind of experiment a little bit. Now, kind of jumping back into Summer League, Paolo played in only 2 games. You just mentioned that you wish, if it was your choice, you would have played all games if possible. Wasn't the case. We only got 2 games. But I think that going into the Summer League, we wanted to see really in person, is he able to address the things that people knock him on, the defense, the shooting. And I think that one of the things that really stood out to me is that he's a lot better of a defensive player. Granted, it's just Summer League, but better defensive player than people really gave him credit for. Even the game against the Kings, that game should not have been as exciting as it was. The fact that it went to double overtime and then it went into sudden death. I think what impressed me the most about Paolo is the fact that he had 2 opportunities to end the game, and both opportunities he looked to pass, or he tried to find the open man.
Good point.
Is there anything that surprised you while watching him in Summer League? We get the size, we get all of that, but is there anything that kind of stood out to you outside of the things that we already know?
I didn't think you'd shoot it well right away, right? I think with the pressure of being the number 1 pick, I think all that leading up to it, we saw Franz last year kind of struggled a little bit shooting the basketball in Summer League, and that's to be expected. And then really into training camp. And he hasn't played since April, right? You got to go back to really March, right? Since the NCAA tournament. He hasn't played meaningful 5-on-5 since then. So you just expect some rust, me personally, for all of them, not really anybody, to be able to go out there and shoot it. And he knocked down his first 4 or 5 shots, including a couple of threes. And I thought, okay, this is very encouraging. He's got that. He's got the mid-range game, which is nice. To me, I think Paolo is a guy that when the lights shine and they're meaningful games and it's the end of a clock and it's a big possession, I don't think that stuff about, is he going to be a good defender? I think that's when he's a competitor and he wants to win. And at the end of the day, we saw it at Duke, right? His last 11 games of the season, he went up to like 19-9 were his numbers to close out the season. On the biggest stage, he played his best basketball. He did it in the tournament, and he told us on the podcast it's because, all the pressure of not ending Coach K's career. Like, he don't want that on his shoulders, right? So it elevated everybody's game. Well, not everybody can do that and step up like that. He did that. So I think, okay, I think he's going to defend. I think he's going to play hard, but I think when it comes to the end of a game and you need to stop, I think he's going to lock in just like everybody else. I don't think those are going to be issues. I think he'll get his conditioning. That was the other thing, right? How's he going to do conditioning through an NBA season? That's not going to be a problem. They'll get him ready for the rigors of an NBA season. And I think, you knock on wood, but you hope he's able to hold up, throughout the NBA season, kind of like Franz did, playing 79 games last year. Just remarkable what he was able to do. So I think he, you hate to say checked a lot of boxes, right? Because it's 2 games. What do we really know? But going into it, how's he going to shoot? How's he going to be able to, what's the physicality going to look like? What is his conditioning going to look like? He's going to need to rebound more at that position. But the guys he was guarding was out on the perimeter. So it's kind of hard to get under and grab a ton of rebounds. But I think if you had to narrow it, all that being said, if you had to narrow it down to one thing, his passing, guys. The passing for a 6'10" guy, I'm not going to compare him to Hedo Turkoglu, but Hedo at 6'10", coming off that pick and roll and could find anybody out there on the floor. I think he's got that. I think he's got that ability at some point. He'll take a little while to get there, but his IQ, he thinks the game, he knows where guys should be. And I think that passing at that size is going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, that playmaking, combining it with now Markel, Wendell, Franz, all guys that look to get the open guy. I think it's really speaking volumes to what they're trying to do in Orlando, getting the right guys that play unselfishly. He adds to that. Of course, he's got the star potential, but the fact that he can do that, it's going to be hard again to guard the Magic when they're on. So that's going to be fun to watch here next season.
You're right, Al. You're right.
Now, one other guy that we added in the draft was Caleb Houstan, who game one impressed all of us. He shot the ball lights out. Unfortunately, the last 2 games has struggled a little bit from the field. But what do you think he can do for the Magic? Good size, good shooting, decent defense for what we can see so far. What can he bring to the Magic? Actually, he just got signed today to his first pro contract here with the Magic. So what can he do for the team? What do you like about him?
Yeah, congrats to him. First of all, I think the guy, from what John Hammond and Jeff Weltman have said, this is a guy that you're running an offense, especially in transition. This guy sprints to the corners and knocks down threes. He's going to knock down open threes for you. And he's going to be one of the best shooters on the roster. And I think that's huge. I think Devin Cannady is going to be a great shooter. And, I think Paolo's going to knock down shots. And, you've got guys that are going to hit shots for you, but you can't have enough of it. And I think this is, how much time can he carve out? How many minutes are going to be there for Caleb? I think that's going to be the big thing. He's behind Chuma. He's going to have to carve out minutes there. How much does Gary Harris play this year? You're trying to get a look at Bol and Mo Bamba, and Mo Wagner's got to play. So I don't know where the minutes are going to be, but he'll find time. His job is to make it hard on Coach Mosley to keep him off the floor. And I think when he gets an opportunity, he'll do that. But I think at least initially more of a 3-and-D would be my, kind of my vision for him. He's going to, you can't leave him open. So you have to respect him out there. And I think he's going to bring it defensively. He's got the length. He can rebound. He's a very good rebounder at that position. Can maybe play, he's the 3. Can he play the 2? Can he play the 4 if you go small? So I think you've got some versatility again there with Caleb. But I think, we did a podcast with him too. He figured something out the last 10 games of his college season. And I think if that can continue here into the NBA level, that he'll have his bumps and bruises along the way as well. But I think he's a guy that's going to come in and knock down shots for you.
Yeah, and going into college, he was considered a high-ranking player. So there's a lot of excitement with him, and we're really rooting for him. I know that when we first initially signed him, we really didn't know what the contract structure really looked like, and we got a glimpse of it today.
Right.
So really, really happy to see that he's going to be with us for what it seems like the long term. Now, with that being said, we also brought back Gary Harris, Mo Bamba. We signed a deal with Bobo. What are your thoughts on bringing those guys back?
I think, Anthony, and the point is valid. You kind of had a chance to look last year at Gary, at Mo Bamba, at Bol, although he didn't play, but you were able to see his work ethic and kind of what he was able to bring off the floor. And I think, you look at it, it's kind of low risk, high reward. I think is kind of where you're going with that, right? So Gary Harris might have had other offers, but, you kind of pay him a decent amount of money. And, so that he's not, some nights he doesn't play. If you want to get a look at Devin Cannady, you want to look at Caleb Houstan, or going to give those guys another opportunity to play. So I think, you make sure he's comfortable in coming back, and he's a great role model and mentor to RJ Hampton and some of the young guys. So I don't think he's a professional. Is that right? So these guys respect him. So I don't think you've lost anything there. Same thing with Mo Bamba. If it is 1 year and the second year is not guaranteed, well, now he's got one more year to kind of go out there and prove himself. He had every opportunity last year, and he looked great at times, and then there's times where he struggled. So again, that's the 6th overall pick 4 years ago. He's going to have another chance to maybe carve out a role. He's one of your better 3-point shooters on this team. Can he be a 3-and-D guy and kind of protect the rim? And then Bol, if the guy can stay healthy, there's so much intrigue, guys, I think, with him. And at 7'2", he can handle the basketball. He can pass. You saw it's only a handful of games, at Oregon before he got hurt. But what he did in high school and all that, it's just a tantalizing prospect if he can stay healthy and on the floor. So can you carve out minutes for him and see what you've got there? So can he be a guy that protects the rim? And, and Al, I don't know how much you get into it. I don't think this factors. If you thought Chet Holmgren was your guy, then you'd take Chet Holmgren. No question about it. I think I'm sure they liked him. But do you have a little bit of a luxury because you've got Bol, you've got Mo Bamba, you've maybe got a couple of guys that can potentially do some of the things that he can do. So now you're able to kind of look at more closely at the other two guys. So we'll see. I don't know. any of these guys are going to be Chet Holmgren. We don't know, but I think it's very intriguing, low risk, high reward kind of thing for those three guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch some tape from Ball back in his college days when he was healthy, he gave you that ball handling, 3-point shooting. He could put on the floor a little bit, can block shots. The key is going to be health. So, if the Magic can some way, somehow make that happen, you never know. You might have a gem there hitting in the bench that may turn into a great player here this season. When it comes to free agency going forward, so you think about flexibility. The Magic definitely have done that. So next year, pretty much, I think more than half of the team is set to have non-guaranteed contracts. What do you think is the long-term play here with the Magic heading into this season? From afar, it seems like let's evaluate these young guys. Next year, let's reevaluate. We got cap space. We can make some moves if we want to, do some trades. Do you kind of think that's the way they're going, kind of evaluation for these young guys this year, and then thinking long-term after this offseason?
I think so. I think you kind of had the luxury. I don't want to say the luxury. You had the misfortune of not having Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac. So when you were resetting, you kind of knew you weren't going to have those guys. So this was a perfect opportunity to let Cole, RJ, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, let those guys play and kind of work through a lot and learn the ropes of the NBA life. And each of those guys kind of had their ups and downs, but Franz was phenomenal the entire season, and Jalen dealt with injuries and kind of had some inconsistencies, but was by far our best perimeter defender the entire season. So you had guys that kind of learned on the fly. And I think that was kind of the thought last year was, okay, you're going to try to win, but how realistically, how many games are you going to win with that young lineup and kind of who you're putting out there? And most of your guys are hurt, so now you're coming in, you're at least more healthy than you were last year. You're, knock on wood, going to have Markelle Fultz for the entire season. He's coming into training camp. I don't think it's fair to kind of Markelle and some of those guys to go in and say, okay, we're going to play you for 15 minutes and we're going to get a big look at RJ Hampton for 30. You know what I mean? I think you're going to go out there, and whoever earns the minutes and whoever deserves to play is who's going to play. And I think you're going to try to make a jump. You won 22 games last year. Can that thing can you add 10, 12 wins to your season just by getting Markelle Fultz on there, by adding the number one pick, by having guys healthy for the entire season? Can that get you 8 to 10 more wins? Now you're in the 30s to low 30s, and can you be 4 or 5 games from a play-in scenario? That would be huge. That'd be huge for this team if they can be in that conversation going into the last month of the season. So I think now you're trying to see what you've got. Maybe still trial and error. These guys still have to learn. I think you got to find minutes for Bol. You got to find out what you've got there. But I think last year was big. You had to know what you had with Mo Bamba. You had to let him play, and I think you had to let RJ play. And so those guys will still get some time. But I think I think this thing is going to be largely about who's earning the minutes and, kind of who deserves to play and who gives you the chance to win.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of one guy that we have on our roster that we keep waiting for something to happen for a little while. Yeah, he's still in our roster. That's Terrence Ross. At this point, it seems it can be assumed that he'll be in our roster come October. I mean, I love the guy. He's shown to be a great locker room presence, a guy that we loved, Human Torch. Who doesn't like him here in Orlando?
Love him.
So with him, do you anticipate him being more of a vet next season, kind of a reduced role? Or do you think he will be, that sixth man, seventh man off the bench, jacking up shots and kind of leading that offense off the bench?
Yeah, I think you've got some things to figure out because you've got 16 guys under contract, right? So you've got the ability to make a roster move, and if Terrence Ross has requested a trade, or if he thinks he's going to be somewhere else, and management decides to go that direction, then you have that leeway. You can certainly do that. So something could still happen potentially between now and training camp or at the trade deadline or whatever. But if he's back and he's here, he's a pro, and he'll go about things the right way, and he'll help these young guys to the best of his ability. And I got to think, if it's the end of the game and I need a basket and I'm head coach Jamal Mosley and I'm now into year 2, okay, yeah, sure. It'd be fun to let these young guys go out there. And yeah, I might want to see how Caleb Houstan handles an end of a game scenario. But I also might want to try to drop something for Terrence Ross. I think knowing that this guy can go out there and knock down shots. So if he's on the roster, I think it'd be hard for Coach Mosley to keep him off the floor and not use him in some capacity. So I think there's still some things probably to be figured out and kind of because you've got a logjam kind of at that guard position all the way around. So, and if he's here, it could be a situation same as Gary. One night Gary, one night Terrence. Or it could be, hey, we're just going to give it to whoever earns those spots, and we're going to let these guys play. So I think there's a lot to figure out. I think it's a good problem for Coach Mosley to have. But regardless of what is decided and what his role is, Terrence will go about it the right way. He's been an absolute pro, and fans should love the guy, and they should love the Human Torch. He made big shots for us, and he's been a big part of this organization. And as electrifying a player as I remember having, end of a game, need a three, the ball's in his hands. I mean, it's kind of like J.J. Redick and these guys, Rashard Lewis. When the ball's in their hands and you need a basket, the crowd gets into it. And Terrence is one of those guys.
Yeah, once he elevates for a shot, the whole arena kind of expects it to go in every time. So that you can't have enough of watching him play here for the Magic. I mean, hopefully he'll be here opening night. We can now have enough shooters in this team, and enough guys can be a threat from the outside. So it'll make it easier for the young guys too, to Markel to get into the lanes, Paolo as well. So let's see how that plays out. We should find out here over the next 2 months how that plays out.
All right, Dante. And I think whatever they decide to do, it'll be something he's comfortable with. It'll be something they're comfortable with. And listen, he loves it here. He loves being here. He loves the fan base. And if he feels he might be time to go on to be with a contender, then they'll try to accommodate that the best they can. But if he says, hey, you know what, my family loves it here, and I'm just fine being here in town, and he may think that way too. And come training camp, and so that they would certainly accommodate that. But exactly. We'll wait and see what happens here in a couple months. But we couldn't be happier if we have Terrence Ross still on the roster, no question.
That's right. Now, Dante, we're going to go into our last segment here of the show. Quick game. It's going to be basically pass or shoot. Pass if you don't agree. Shoot if you agree with the statement. So first one, RJ Hampton will be a part of the rotation come opening night.
Whew, man, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say shoot for now, because I think that he's going into year 3, and he's gotta have. This is a big summer for him. I don't go by summer league. He looked very inconsistent in a couple of games in summer league. But I think he's going to get a chance initially, but I think he's going to have to earn it in training camp, preseason. I think he's going to have to show something. And so I think he definitely will be a part of it initially, and then it'll be up to him. Can he maintain that spot in the rotation? And that's something that we're going to have to see. Hopefully he can.
Yeah, we're pulling for him. Again, the better he plays, the more consistent he can be, the more of a help he is to the team overall. So we're rooting for him. We're hoping to see him out there earning some minutes here on opening night.
He's a talent. He's athletic, and he was the best three-point shooter on the team. One of the best three-point shooters. So if he spot up, catch and shoot threes, knock down free throws, defend his tail off, there'll be a spot on this rotation and many rotations for years to come.
That's right. Second one, Devin Cannady will be wearing an Orlando Magic jersey. So not a Lakeland Magic, an Orlando Magic jersey come opening night.
Shoot. No question about it. This guy, to me, he's the best shooter on the team. He's the best shooter on the team. He's got the nicest shot. Terrence would be in that conversation as well. But I think Devin, can he get the shot off in time? And, he'll struggle at times maybe to get looks, but he's working on that. He can put the ball on the floor. He's not just a shooter, but I think he brings a skill set that this team sorely needs. So I think his shooting ability keeps him on this roster opening night, no question.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me a little bit of Seth Curry. Just a little glimpses of how he plays, how he's so composed, such a well-behaved kid, great locker room presence. So again, I'm rooting for him. I've been a fan of him for years now. So he got to Lakeland. I'm like, let's give this kid a shot.
Yes.
So I'm happy to see him get to Orlando and showcase that shooting ability that he has.
Well, he told us a couple weeks ago on draft night that he thinks within a year or two he will be the next Seth Curry. He thinks he's got that in him, right? So to your point, that's who he models his game after. That's why he wears that number 30, and he thinks he shoots it just as well. And he'll add other facets to his game. He defends. He's a capable defender as well. So to your point, that's a guy that he's looking up to. That's his role model, and that's how he thinks he can carve out a niche. So I agree with you. I see that as well.
Let's hope so. Again, like we said earlier in the episode, we need shooting. If he can provide us with that, it'll make us that much better.
Correct.
Third one, J.I. So we're ready for him. We've been waiting for him for a while. Seems like he's making strides and getting better and better. Do you think he'll be there for training camp and be ready to go?
Well, it's tough. If I have to pick, I'd have to say pass, just because I don't know. He hasn't been ready for 2 years. So I think until he's actually out there, I think it's hard to say, yes, he's definitely going to be ready come this time. As you know, Jeff doesn't put timetables on it. So, we got a better chance of getting the nuclear codes from NORAD than we do knowing an exact day that anybody's ever going to come back from an injury. So it's hard to know exactly that. But I am so hoping that he's going to be there, ready for training camp, and if not, certainly right after. That's what the timetable would be, and hopefully that's what he's tracking towards. But with these injuries and the way that we don't rush guys back, as you know, we err way on the side of caution. So for all of those reasons, I would think it'd be hard to know until I'll know it when we see it, and it's hard to know exactly when he's going to be back.
And the good thing is that he'll be an added bonus no matter what. If he comes back healthy, playing anywhere close to how he played in the bubble, he's going to be an added bonus to this team and make us that much better. Think about just.
And I think when he comes back, yeah, you're right. And I think when he comes back, he's going to be that. I think he's going to be the Jonathan that we know and love. And maybe a couple of years, it's going to take a while to get his knock off the rust and stuff. But I do think you're going to see that. So what a luxury that is when he comes back. But I think we have to see it. We got to get him back out there. We got to get him right. We're not going to rush it. And, now, and again, he's coming back from a couple of things now and kind of had that setback a couple of months ago with the leg injury on the other leg. So I think he's got to get that right. And then he's got to get back to still fixing that knee. And hopefully he'll, and I hope. And if anyone can do it, it's him. And I hope he is ready for training camp. I think that'd be a great story.
Oh, yeah. We're hoping for the best for sure with the JI. Next to last one here, Paolo Banchero will win Rookie of the Year this upcoming season.
Shoot. Why not? You got the number one pick. You got the skill set that he's got. Why not? That should be his goal. That should be his teammates' goal to help him get that. I thought Franz deserved serious consideration for Rookie of the Year as well. Glad that he made all-rookie first team. But I think he's got the skills and the tools and everything that you need to be the Rookie of the Year. And I think he can get it. I think he will get it. I'll say it right now. I think Paolo will win Rookie of the Year. Yeah, we got to win. I think you got to win more than 22 games. We got to help his cause. And that's what I mean. Everybody's got to pitch in because I don't think they'll give it to somebody that, that's going to be sitting there. Although Cade, I guess, did get it this year with 22 wins. But I think that would help if he's, with Scotty Barnes, right? So if you can have like a year like Toronto, if you can add 10 or 12 wins to last year, kind of like what Toronto did, then I think he makes a case. And I think he can win it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to opportunities, right? And I think the Magic will give him any shot they can to make sure the ball's in his hands, that he's being productive and winning basketball games. So if that happens, I think he'll have a great shot.
Don't you think that's a big part of it? Sadly, don't you think? But don't you think that's a big? You got to win some more games, right?
You do. I mean, and again, the way that the roster set up, all the healthy players coming back, this team should be, again, winning at least 10 more games this upcoming season.
I agree.
All right, Dante, last one. The Magic will be featured more than twice on national televised games. So that would be ESPN, TNT, this upcoming season. What are your thoughts?
I love it. I'm going to say pass because I don't think we're going to get the respect initially. I think they are going to add games as the season goes. And I think there's an opportunity to get more nationally televised games as we go. But I think, and I think this should be the rallying cry is to let everybody know what's happening down here in Orlando. But I think I think we'll get a game. And I think we'll get a game because we got Paolo. But I think, maybe it's Paolo Chet, right? In some capacity, maybe they work that out. I hope you're right. I hope we get more. But we haven't gotten the love on a national level for the last couple of years. And I think it's going to come, and I think you got to earn it. And I think we'll do that with our play. So I think when it's all said and done, yes, shoot for that. We will have 2 or 3 national games by the time the season's over. But I think when that first schedule comes out, I don't think we will. That's my guess.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
But I'm hoping for the best. I know on the last Summer League game that Paolo played, they were talking about how excited they were to come back to Orlando and see the new practice facility live. So they're kind of making plans about coming to Orlando. So I hope it is more than once. Again, our team deserves it. We got great guys. I mean, Jalen Suggs, you got Wagner, now Paolo, Markel. So we have kind of the marquee young guys that are developing. So hopefully we get the respect that we deserve. But
now I will say, obviously, even if it's on national TV, obviously everybody will watch on Bally Sports Florida, right? That's where they will watch the games. There's no question about it. But your point is valid. The national talk, the national attention. That's what we're hoping for. But obviously, we're not going to watch those other channels here in this town, right?
There's only one way of doing it, Dante. It's only one way.
Yeah,
that's it.
All right,
Dante.
We appreciate it.
To close it out with you today, just one hot take or bold prediction for this team next season.
Okay. So I'm toying around with this, and it's my goal. It's my hope for this team, but I think we're going to shock some people. I don't know that we're going to have a Cleveland type turnaround, kind of like they did last year. I don't know if we're quite ready for that because we're young, but I think we're going to be in contention for that play-in scenario. I do. I think we're going to be within an arm's reach of that for most of the season. If we can stay healthy and keep guys on the floor, get Jonathan Isaac back, have Markelle healthy for an entire season, I think that team alone right there is talented enough to be in contention for that play-in scenario. And so my take would be that we would be in it. And if we have Isaac and Markelle Fultz for the entire year, I don't see why they can't be 10th in the Eastern Conference. So that would be, you want a hot take? That would be my hot take. We'll be in contention to possibly even make the play-in scenario. That should be their goal. No question about it. And hopefully that can happen this year.
So I think the key there is going to be health. If we can stay healthy, I think that's definitely a doable goal for this team this upcoming season. So we're hoping for that. We'll be praying for health for this team. We've been craving that for 3 years now for the team to be healthy since the pandemic started. We're due. We're due that health. We're due seeing these guys together. And again, You said Emily was rocking towards the end of last season. I can't wait to see it all season long here, this upcoming season starting in October. Dante, thank you so much for joining us. For those that are watching on YouTube, unfortunately, we lost Anthony halfway through. His Wi-Fi went out, so he couldn't join us back. But Dante, thank you so much for joining us.
Do you want me to, you want to send me, does Anthony not pay his Wi-Fi? Do you want to send it to me? You want me to pay his internet bill or something?
We may have to, Dante. I'll let you know.
Okay. Happy to help out. Happy to help you guys out anytime. All right, Al, I appreciate you, man. The OZone podcast, you guys do a fantastic job. I really appreciate it. And you guys do a terrific job following the team. We appreciate the support. It is felt. So thank you very much, and keep up the great work. And it's always a pleasure talking to you and Anthony. Okay, brother? We'll see you later.
Thank you so much, Dante. Thank you for listening, guys. Till next week.
Thank you for listening to the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans. For all the latest Orlando Magic news and updates, follow us on Twitter at the Ozone Pod and on Instagram at Orlando Magic HQ. Remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.